Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about Chikuhodo's Z-series of brushes. Specifically what I have in front of me are their eye and face brushes. I also want to give a big thank you to Fude Beauty who helped me complete this set of brushes. I ordered some on my own and then they approached me and said, hey, if you are interested in making some content, we'd love to send you a few of these Z-series brushes that you're looking at. So I took up their offer and here we are. I'm so excited. These brushes are just, the handles are super lightweight, very easy, and it feels really good to hold on to and use. And then of course the hairs are, natural hairs are extremely soft, and the natural hairs are squirrel hair and they're known to really diffuse powder products very, very beautifully. So I want to demo these brushes for you today and talk a little bit about their shapes, how they fit in with my existing Fude collection. Fude Beauty also shared with me a discount code. If you are interested in taking a look at any of these brushes, be sure to hold on to the code because it gives you 10% off your order. There are no restrictions as far as I know. You can also use this code in conjunction with other coupons and discounts. If you're already a member of Fude Beauty, you can definitely use any points, credits that you've saved up and combine it with this code for use. So I'll have all that information. I'll probably put it in the video and below in the description. I'm gonna start with the Z10 here. This brush has it is densely packed. It comes up to a point, like a pencil-shaped brush. I have a few of these pencil-shaped brushes, but this one has the longest bristles. And I think it does a really, really good job in working above or below the lash line because it is densely packed enough to kind of give you really a pencil effect, both in shaped and the way the bristles are bundled together. It also is good on the tip, given this hair type, is to diffuse the product here. And while these are meant to be used for powders, if there's anything that's like maybe very pigmented, densely packed powder, this actually does a very good job in diffusing that and just making it look a bit more seamless and natural when you apply it, when you use it to apply your makeup. And then next here I have a blender brush. This is the blend brush is what's printed on here, but this is the Z10, and it really, as the name implies, used for diffusing very softly and in a big area. So sort of these more sweeping motions in blending out. Then I have here the Z3. It comes up to a very blunt, flat top, and it is probably the most densely packed brush given its size and what it's meant to do. So this is a contour brush. I think I only have one other brush in this specific shape, but not in this size. So this is a truly unique shape in my collection that I'm looking forward to show you how I'll use it. Next is the eyeshadow brush. This is the Z5, and it's a sizable big brush. I also do not have any powder brushes of this size in my collection, actually. I'll show you what comes close, but not quite with these hairs and not truly meant for only powder products. And again, just really big surface area. I can see using these brushes to create soft looks very quickly just because of their size. And then relying on this Z10 for more detailed work. Moving on to the face brushes, then I have the Z4 highlight brush. Again, I don't have anything in my collection that's quite this shape in terms of a face brush. And so this is meant for highlight. We'll give that a try. Then we have the Z8, which is a cheek brush. It's very soft. I think it has it's a good in between of not being very densely packed, but not quite loose. I think it gives you a little bit more control over the powders. Of course, given the hairs, it's going to diffuse very well, but it's not going to be, you know, just fluffing the powder away. We're going to see some bigger brushes just right after this. So in comparison, I think this is a very appropriate brush for blush, and it has a good balance between diffusing powders and just putting on pigment that really highlights the product you're putting on. So before I move on to the last two Z-series brushes, there's one more brush that I don't currently have. I think what I did with it is I took it to work. It's a very handy, smaller cheek and highlighter brush. It is called, it's actually the Z4. And I'll have a photo here. The Z4 I've been using for quite some time. It is a lovely, lovely brush. It is smaller than the brush we just saw for cheeks. So it can be used as both cheek and highlight. And I use it just for that, truly for cheeks and highlight. Because of its smaller size, I can control the placement of brush a bit better. And it's, again, because of the hairs, it diffuses very well. So for pigmented blushes, that makes me hesitate before I go in. I like using that brush, and it's small enough to also use as highlight. That's why I took it with me. It's smaller. It can be used for easily two different types of products and two different placements. That's why I took it to go. But I'll have a photo here, and at the end, I'll kind of talk about like what brushes I prefer for what types of jobs. For the last two brushes, I'm going to hold them up together because of how similar they look to each other. This is the Z9, and compared to the Z1, it actually has longer bristles than the Z1. However, the brush itself is shorter than the Z1. Both of them are very soft. They're loosely packed, and you can truly use them. I feel like you can use them interchangeably, whether for all over face powder, bronzer, although this one might be slightly more suitable for bronzer, but say if you had to pick one or the two, I think they can fulfill different jobs and do a good job of that. I'll probably use this for all over face powder, and then this for bronzer in the demonstration. So these are the two very similar. At the end, I'll have some comparisons because I have other brushes that are also very similar to the Z9 and Z1 that are, I think, worth looking at. So as you can see on my face, I have foundation on, some concealer, but no other, like no powder products. And what I'm gonna do first is to set this foundation. I'm gonna use Orsay's Come Closer Loose Powder. It's been a while since I've used loose powder, to be honest. I have preferred pressed powders in compacts because they are easier to carry with me. And you can see this is Kosas. I've pretty much finished it. I'll use the rest of it and maybe pick up another one. So it's been a while, but I'm excited. We're gonna go in with the Z9. So tapping off excess here, I've got a good amount of product. I'm just gonna sweep it. And I would say I could probably go in for a second application, but I felt like I already see the difference here. It's a little bit more mattified compared to this side that's not set. So let me go back in for another application, tap off excess. You can see the difference. I would say 2 applications is enough. It does, these brushes just really diffuse and even out the placement very well. And then we go in on the other side. So that is with the powder applied. You can see it does have like a bit of a mattifying effect. I feel like it's overall pretty even. I did want to mention, you saw me tapping my brush like this. I actually don't recommend it. It's a habit I picked up when I worked with makeup artists several years ago. A lot of the way that I apply makeup is kind of built on the tips that they'd given me and just watching them do my makeup. So I don't recommend really tapping it, just because knowing, you know, these brushes, fude is an investment, and I do recommend just being very gentle with them. So I'd rather you tap like this. And I really should be doing that myself. So I wanted to call that out and highlight that. We've gone in, put powder all over the face. Let's now go into some eye makeup. What I have here on my vanity is Natasha Denona's Retro Glam palette. And I don't know if I am going out today and what I'm gonna wear, but we're just gonna let the eyeshadow look dictate that. And we're gonna create something that is still summery, but fun. And so we'll use a few different shades here. I'm first gonna go in with the blender brush. So we saw this in the beginning. This is the Z10, and I'm going to take Lucy and put that all over the lid. So you can see I just lightly tapped it and it took on a lot of product. I'm gonna also just do this to get the excess off, and I'm doing that over a tissue paper. You can also just have a towel as well. And Lucy is just not going to really show up on my skin, but that's kind of the point. I just wanted to have like a base. This brush feels a lot denser than I thought, so it allows for good control. But because it does, the brush here is actually denser than I anticipated. It gives a lot of control of placement, but because the ends, just because of its shape, it splays out, it does buff and blend pretty effectively and quickly. So you can see it's nicely, the eyes nicely have this like wash of pigment of Lucy. And then I'm gonna go in now with something to do a little bit more detailed work. I'm taking Oscar, the Z5, and putting that from the lower to the middle of the lid. And I'm not quite covering the end here. I'm leaving that for another shade. And also I'm tapping off excess as I'm doing this. Here, I think I called this brush Z10 just now. This is the Z11. This is the Z10, which I am gonna use. And I'm taking Jazzy and putting Jazzy on the lower lid and moving it into the outer corner. And it's pretty risky to take this deep shade. Sometimes, you know, you have something in mind and it doesn't quite work out, but I feel like these brushes being just so soft diffuses product easily. It can be pretty forgiving. So this is really intense. I'm gonna blend it out further into the lid. I'm gonna go back with this blend brush. Everything is blended out. I think it looks pretty nice. That was really quick to do. I'm actually gonna go back in with the Z10 and just add some pigment along here on both sides. And I'm taking the shade Oz. And I'm just bringing Oz down onto the inner corners a little bit. I haven't quite decided if I want any product on the lower lash line here. I'm just gonna leave things as is. And we're gonna move on to more face products here. Before I get into any contouring, I actually just wanna apply blush on first. So for blush, we have a few options. So far we've been playing with loose powders. I wanna use it on a Big Gelée product. And I have here the Chanel Jardin Imaginaire Light and Berry. Perfect, there's a blush and a highlight. So we're gonna take the blush brush, Z8, and go into the blush. So I think you can see the product here. Let's just do a single sweep. It's very, very light, as you can see. And we're gonna go in to now build it more. So it's still pretty light, and given how soft these brushes deposit product, for something like a Big Gelée, you might have to go in a couple more times. But I think for powder products, it's gonna be, you're not gonna have to do that as much. And it's really beautiful, it's subtle. Something like this that's more pigmented and deeper can go on fast and furious and you could end up having too much on and you need to go back and correct. I feel like these brushes are really forgiving in that way, but sometimes a little bit more patience is required to get exactly the amount that you would like. Moving on to the highlighter, I'm going to use the Z2, this brush here. It's got this nice, like really calligraphy brush shape. I think it's so interesting. And I'm just gonna be generous and dab it and sweep it. I think you can see that already. I'll go in for a second application. I think that's beautiful. The shape is also just lends itself to like naturally, you know, sweep upward. It's skinny. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. For the other side of the cheek, I want to go with something that is not big gelée, so just a powdered blush. And I want to go back in with that same blush brush to see if the application is just going to be as soft. So I'm being, you know, very generous here. Also, I love this. This kind of pattern, this marble, goes all the way through the compact, meaning it doesn't disappear as you use it. This is a Suku blush, by the way. Just, I love it. I've got a good amount of product just from demonstrating, you know, doing that. Good amount of product. I'll just tap off excess and then apply. I think we got more on the first time around, but I did, you know, go through and sweep it multiple times. It's still very soft, and I think this goes to show these brushes with their hairs, it just gives a softer application. It's part of what makes them great, but also something to be aware of. Now for contouring, I have a few options here for contour. I can take a big gelée product or a powdered product. I'd like to try both actually, just like what I did with the blushes. So I'm going to take my trusty matte bronzer from Victoria Beckham. This is a powdered product. This is in the shade 02. And we're going to take, because I've had some sun, we're gonna take Honey, the deeper of the two shades here. And I'm gonna go in with the contour brush and just very generously swirl it, tap off that excess here. I picked up a lot of product. And then I'm gonna go into these areas just to apply it. I think that looks a lot better than I anticipated. It needs some more buffing, but I like how, like it's very obvious we've got some shaping going on here, but in a good way. And again, I've never used a brush shape like this for contouring at all. So this is a new experience for me. And then I'm gonna apply some just along the jawline. And the motion I'm using is a circular buffing motion because of this round shape. Because this is the most densely packed brush that we're looking at in this video, what I recommend is to go light-handed with the product and then go in to apply again, because now I've got, you know, this pretty obvious line here. I can go back in with one of the bigger brushes to buff it out. That's a good demonstration for the bigger brushes. I'll do that. And let me get to the other side. Now I'm going to actually go into a big gelée product and apply this to different areas, and we'll see what that's like. I think we have, again, some good color from the sun this past few months. I'm going to use Chantekai's Real Bronze in the shade Goya. And once again, even though it's big gelée, I've gotten like good product here. I need to tap off that excess, and I'm just going to apply it along the forehead, deepen things, and buff out. And then I'm also going to go into the bridge, the sides of my nose, to add some contour. This one I really want to just be careful and go light-handed because it's just one of the tougher spots to fix if we go with too much. So I'm just going to go and dab this along the side. And I think we can already see the difference. the nose here. And I feel like what I'll do even sometimes is put some deeper shadow here just to give this area more definition. So I think we see a little bit of that effect here. I went with a back and forth motion, but you can also just dab it so you can have more control over the product. But wow, I'm kind of impressed. Actually, I'm really impressed. I need to diffuse these two areas a bit more. So this is the perfect job, I think, for the Z1. And originally in the video, I said, hey, I'm gonna use this for bronzer. I think now we can use it to buff. So I'm gonna work on the jawline first. And I think that did a good job. I think it's very satisfactory. Let's go on the side. And then we're gonna do just right along here. I think good to say that the Z1 does a very good job in buffing out. I'm quite happy with these results. For my last part, to demo this brush here, I'm just gonna go in to this powder bronzer because I do wanna put an overall warmth to this makeup look. And I'm just going to sweep it very lightly. That's why I'm also using the lighter shade of the two across to just, you know, give this a more buttoned up, bronzy glow. And that's it. I'm not gonna go back for another application because I'm not trying to look too bronzed. So I feel like this is a good balance between the two. I'm gonna finish by putting on some lipstick, and then we'll take a final look and some comparisons with these brushes. For lips, I use Gucci's matte lipstick in the shade Fanny Rose. I have a whole video on their kind of warm neutral shades that they release for their lipsticks in both like matte, liquid, and satin finish. If you're interested, I will have a link below. But the shade looks deeper on camera because of all this like studio lighting, but it's like, I think it's the perfect shade to go with this retro glam look. Overall, I feel like these brushes have lived up to expectations and its reputation over the years of being very soft, very soft, well made, very, very light handles. This brush being the biggest of all of them. Actually, these two, Z9, Z1, they're just so lightweight. It also speaks to how that one brush I don't have in this video, why I take it with me. It's light, it can perform different jobs really well. I would say the breakout brush of them all is gonna be this contour brush. I've never used a shape like this for contour. Actually, I've never used a shape like this, period, for anything that's powder. And I think it did just such a good job of correct placement, buffing, and I would definitely be keeping this on my vanity so I can go in and do that kind of more detailed contour work. So I love this brush. And for the three eye brushes, I just loved how we got to create this complete look with 4 different eyeshadow shades just using these 3. I think it speaks to the versatility of these brushes, both in their shape and in the way that they can be used. You have sensitive lids, drier lids, or just some skin that could make like your eyeshadow skip as you apply it on. I think you're not going to have those issues here. Like, these are just some of the softest brushes I've used. So big fan of these as well. And again, just so lightweight, very pleasant to hold on to. I love this highlighter brush. That shape is perfect. I have a few other highlighter brushes that I really enjoy. One of them is Sonia G's. And again, a brush shape that I don't have in my collection besides this one. And you know, it does a beautiful, beautiful job here. It's just a different experience, that's all. I love the shape, but this also gives you that kind of controlled and concentrated just for these areas here, but I am loving this one too. For the cheek brush, I think this brush here, again, we talked about how it can handle like more pigmented. It has that big, you can do this bigger sweeping motion here. It covers more area, but I don't think this brush is a standout compared to some of the other brushes I just talked about, because I have a number of blush brushes and I feel like this is not, while it does an excellent job, it doesn't have any faults. It just isn't really a standout for me. If I had to choose between this blush brush or the blush and highlighter brush, I would choose the blush and highlighter brush. I think that one just has more of more versatility to it and can fulfill the job of this brush well. And then for the last two brushes, I talked about how you probably don't need both of them, but if you're a collector, I definitely wouldn't stop you. I would encourage you to pick up both because they're both great. There's nothing that beats a good buffing brush or a diffusing brush. And you saw how quickly the Z1 was able to get, you know, some of those more streaky or concentrated spots that needed more buffing out. It just like, whoop, just swept it away. I did want to, for the last part, compare these two, Z9 and Z1, to two other brushes I have in my collection that I think are similar in shape. So I have the also Chikuhodo MKKO brush. This is of their Rephr series. This brush is continued. So I just want to show you. And this brush actually won from a Fude Beauty contest several years ago. So we are, you know, the brand, the company and I, just through serendipity, has come together over time. It's my pleasure to make this video talking about these beautiful brushes. And then this is the Beautylish Lunar New Year brush. So I would say between these four, the most similar is going to be, the Z9 is going to be most similar to the Chikuhodo MKKO. And the specs are not exactly the same, but I believe the handle, like the brush length, is the same. The bristle length is slightly different, but they're both that rounded shape. If you happen to have, if you have one of these brushes already, the MKKO, I don't think you need the Z9. Although if you have it as a collector and you want something that's, you know, maybe less delicate, you can certainly go for the Z9. As for the lunar brush, this brush is actually, the brush itself is the tallest compared to all the other ones. And the brush length, however, is shorter, as you can see. I'm just kind of holding them. But all four of these brushes, you can use them for different jobs interchangeably. It just depends on like your preference. Would you want something that has maquillage or something that's more like functional and in line with the rest of the Z series? So there's a collector's element to it for sure. That concludes my video. Thank you so much for watching. I had a really great time demoing these for you. The last shout out I wanted to give is that Fude Beauty is doing a revival project with the Fupa brushes. And I picked up a second Fupa 02 in a wooden handle. This just launched. You can still pick it up on the website. If you are interested in any of these, please use the coupon code. It can be used in conjunction to other offers. But I have two of them. This one you can see, it's gotten really, really good use. I love this for foundation. Both creams and liquids, it does a beautiful, beautiful job. And I have a second one as a backup. So thank you guys for watching. Ask any questions you may have. I'll try my best to answer them. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.